So that's a really lofty goal that we originally set for our Team Smart goal because, and I had to explain this, by the way, to my coach because I have a coach who's doing this. So basically what I told my coach was that we really didn't have a baseline to go off of, and we were just kind of going off of our assumptions. So it says here, where did the students start? And I wrote actually in this that students started with the teachers kind of explaining the importance of research, which we all kind of did in our classes, and that the students would be tested 3 times. And basically in terms of the proficiency, this would be the benchmark. The first test would kind of be the benchmark for us. And since no testing was done in this area prior to this year, we just had to go with what we thought would be a reasonable amount. So based on that, if you guys look at the results that are in front of you right now, and I can give you one, Miss Mellons, because I know you just came in here. Thank you.
No, this has your germs all over.
I'll cut to the chase and say here's where we're at with the results. So nobody in grades 9 through 11 scored proficient on the test. And we described proficient in our original goal as like 80%. Proficient as far as this benchmark goes in EduSoft is 70%. So if you really counted at 70%, we only had 2 people. And if you look at the last pages, it goes in order by grade. The last pages have the 2 people who scored 80% on the test, and there was only 2 that scored 80%. So, in retrospect, we should change our goal, and I'm proposing, and this is what we need to work on right now real quick, is how the goal should change and then what we're going to do about it. Now, this is going to be a little bit maybe convoluted or a little bit confusing at first, but I'll read it out loud and then we can have a discussion. So on a rising scale, students will score 70%, so we're changing the 80 to 70% of the year on the research assessment, and they're going to increase from a starting point. So a starting point for the 9th grade would be 40%, and then of course 50, 60, and 70% for 12th graders. That would score proficient, 70% or above on the test, right? Then throughout the year, we're going to have an increase, and we should see an increase of 15% of the students scoring proficient from the starting point. So if you look at our starting points now, they're really 0% that are scoring proficient. But look at the amount of students scoring close to proficient, or that could maybe jump up to 70%, and then maybe it is realistic that up to 40% can do it, and if not, then that's what I want to talk about now. Should we lower those numbers for this next assessment? Because if that's the case, then everyone should increase by 15% for this second assessment, and that means that 9th graders should be at 55%, 10th graders would be at 65, 11th graders would be at 75, and 12th graders would be at 85.
Now this last page, what are the other 3 students that were not marked? What is?
Untested students. So this is we're working with just the students that were tested during this.
Okay. And they're not that far off.
Mr. I, is the test the same for each grade level?
Yes.
And yet our 9th graders only achieved 61%? That's the highest?
That's correct. 61%. I'm looking at the second page.
And
yeah.
we're hoping that they will achieve 70% by the end of the year.
Yeah, we want them to be. We want a high percentage of them. In this case,
40% for the ninth grade, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the starting point, and
Mhm.
then we would want it to increase 15% each time we gave the assessment. So by the time we're done, that 40% becomes 70%, I believe. 40 plus 15 is 65, 75, 80%. That 40% becomes.
I wonder
70%,
if that
70%,
isn't a
I think
bit
that makes sense.
ambitious, starting with the ninth grade anyway.
Mhm.
I think I would lower it, our score for the initial test anyway. Oh, it's even worse in the 10th graders.
I definitely want all your guys' thoughts, so please chime in. Because we're all responsible for making sure that they understand research-based skills to do well on this assessment. And basically, that's part of our goal as a group, is to try to teach these things so that they can be successful.
But we don't teach the same thing each year, so.
Right. but
Certainly
that-
by the senior year, I could see students being 80% or better, but.
Well, now it's 70%, so proficient is 70%. And we're just looking at a reasonable amount of students to progress over the time.
And in terms of the research, you're looking at primary and secondary sources?
Right.
and
We're
what-
looking at research-based skills based on the assessment. Remember the assessment that we created and we looked at?
Right.
So we're looking at that. So when I come in next time, I'm probably gonna have more of an item analysis.
Okay.
And what we're gonna look at is what kind of things we could do in our
Which one-
practice to help.
Which one we need to really work on?
Yeah, we're looking to look at the problem areas. Right now, we need to look at adjusting our goal to make it realistic, and then looking at the data, what should be some of the next steps in terms of how we adjust the goal, and then what we're gonna bring in.
Can we revise the test so that we have a different test for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade?
After this year, sure. Mr. Ponce, Sadetsky.
Yeah, well, I mean, in order for us to really work on what we need to get them to do, we need to look at the items and find out which ones are the weakest, and then try to target those.
I think even before the meeting then, so before next meeting, I can send out an item analysis, so that way we can look at,
That would be good.
that we can look at which questions the students got wrong most frequently. And
And we
that'll
need
help
our
out.
English teachers here to help us, because we don't know what is being covered in English at each grade level either.
Yeah, I think that'll come out of the wash when we do some more corrective instruction next week and we see the item analysis. and
Yeah, when
can
we
really
see
figure
the
out-
item analysis, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the goal itself based on the numbers of students who scored close to proficient. So does it seem reasonable that we could get what percentage of students up to 70%?
I think if we have a sliding scale and a different test for each grade level, that we would see a dramatic increase in the proficiency score.
Absolutely. So sliding scale is without question what this is. And then in terms of different tests, we're in the instruction cycle right now. So we're gonna deal with the assessment that we have. And then absolutely, I think next year, it would be more apropos, because now the students have seen this test and they're gonna see it again next year, and they're gonna see it again the year after that. So clearly, they're gonna get 100%, because now I've seen the test 3 times a year for the last 4 years.
Right.
But starting off, using the same test made a lot of sense. Excuse me. I'm waiting on you guys.
I concur with what Stan said, that we look at the item analysis report first.
Because that'll
This
give
is-
us
This
tools.
doesn't tell us much,
That'll give us tools
to actually,
Mhm.
target instruction.
So,
Target.
would you agree that there needs to be a change to that,
Yes.
or that seems okay to you as it is, and why or why not?
I would have to see that item analysis report first to see actually what all the stuff we have to teach,
So you think if the item analysis report came back and it looked like,
If all of them are, specific, like one
Yeah,
thing,
one specific
Right.
thing.
then,
Then-
go from there,
then
but we
we
can't
can-
really,
yeah.
I mean,
okay.
we're just shooting in the dark. We're gonna see actually what they don't know that way, you know, we can figure out if we can teach it or not in the amount of time.
Give them a
Oh, yeah.
chance to succeed, yeah.
All right, Claire, I saw some nodding heads here, so go ahead and give me some discourse.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm agreeing with what everyone says. I think it was definitely smart to move to a sliding scale. I agree, we need to see the item analysis, but I think it's, I don't know, if we're looking at 40% right now for ninth grade, and we're looking for 55% on the second exam, so it doesn't necessarily get to, I don't know, 25% increase is significant overall, but
Mhm.
especially for ninth and 10th graders, but it's potentially possible once we see the item analysis.
Yeah, and I was hoping that the distribution of their percentages would help give us at least some level of idea as to who was approaching proficiency, because clearly you can see in the seniors that a lot more seniors are approaching proficiency. So it'd be realistic that we can get a lot more seniors over the hump to kind of meet a higher percentage goal. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe an item analysis could make us refine it a little bit more.
Well, the ninth grade, when they come in, do we know what they've been taught in terms of research and stuff?
No, and I think that's part of why we need to do this
Yeah.
after like the first, or towards the end of the first semester
Yeah,
anyway. So
we
we've had
need
a
to
chance
test
to work
them to
with
find
them.
out what they need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And once we know, then in the 10th, and 11th, and 12th grade, we can target a lot of that stuff. And, you know, and if they don't know anything about any of this stuff, then, you know, start from there too. I mean,
And I think this ties into the integrated portfolios that
Yeah.
they're asking us to do.
Yeah.
We're gonna do an integrated portfolio. One way to easily integrate a portfolio across
Is to do
different
research.
classes
Yeah.
is to have some research
Yeah.
anchor to it, so that we can pull out different aspects of literature
Right.
or science or
Right.
social science that people have to defend and make claims about and counterclaims. And I think we're really in the world of Common Core at that point. And then we're also helping to push the envelope in terms of being able to have our classes understand that they're all part of the same cohort. You know, because I think that's what strengthens our ability to leverage students to do work, is the fact that they know that there's just not Miss Mellis, but there's Miss Mellis and Mr. Irizarry and Mr. Mannix and Mr. Nakahara all trying to get you to do
You
the
know,
same
all
type
of the
stuff.
teachers within the core
Yeah.
for each grade level should be all doing the same thing, not just one teacher.
Because you are, aren't you guys doing that? With-
Well, how come our 10th graders didn't do better than our 11th graders?
Is the 10th grade, 10th and 11th, they're doing integrated curriculum too?
Yeah, but
Whether we're all teaching the same type of research
Right.
skills, that's another thing.
So maybe that's what we need to do, is standardize how we wanna go about doing that.
I think that's what our goal is, yeah, to
Mhm.
do that.
Okay.
and I know with you, Mellis, you just did a project where they had to do some MLA citation, and a few students were really confused about that. So I think that helps if we get together so that they understand our expectations on it. I know
Mhm.
Mannix did the same thing with his seniors, but he didn't even accept papers
Mhm.
that were given if they were
Good.
in a particular format
Mhm.
in MLA, so that makes sense. And then, I don't even know, have you done any research where they've actually had to cite sources yet?
Maybe after the 11th grade.
For 11th grade, and then how about you? Yeah, so that means, so then we probably should have something where we know that that's happening to some extent in all the classes, and then
Mhm.
that's gonna help reinforce what students know and
Mhm.
how they're gonna be able to perform on the assessment.
Yeah, 'cause, we're gonna be doing that next thing. Health for the body, we're gonna do nutrition again, so.
Right, yeah, and so nutrition's a big one, because I'm doing it, you're doing it, Mellis. That means that you're partially, I don't know how you're gonna do that in your
I do it
system.
both 10th and 11th grade.
Yeah.
So see, I'm gonna do it, as soon as I
And-
finish this next section.
And we can integrate pieces of the assessment that they were really weak on into how we teach
Right.
the research part of what we're doing, so that there's some uniformity to it, and then students really get it and can do better on the assessment the next time around.
And in 10th grade, we do the infectious diseases, so they're gonna get it again.
Fair enough. All right, so item analysis, I'll send out between now and then.
Good.
So your homework is gonna be to look at the item analysis and the assessment.
And give you feedback.
And give me some feedback,
Okay.
because remember, the assessment might not fall all under one piece, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of digging to see which question they got wrong and where we can tie that into a specific connection
What kind of questions did they ask?
on the assessment.
Yeah.
So, well, we've all looked at it, right? It's all basically finding a thesis or picking out a passage, MLA, all that type of stuff. So, how you doing, sir?
I'm running around. I've got to do SBAC stuff. Make sure we're ready to roll Monday morning.
Cool. Could you say something about SBAC here? So he's doing it, you're doing it, right?
Mhm.
And then outside of that, it's just going to be every junior gone for that. For the
Periods
round?
1 through 3 on Monday and Tuesday.
And then what's the schedule going to look like for that?
It'll be regular schedule. If you don't have juniors, you won't be affected. I think we got it.
Really?
Who got the email this morning?
Well, there was an email that went out about it?
I think everyone did.
Oh, okay, cool. So I didn't see the email this morning.
Mhm.
Okay, so regular schedule.
Yeah, she sent it out. It was when school began. She sent it out. There's 2 of them.
I was teaching them.
So I haven't looked at.
It's juniors and sophomores, you said.
No, just juniors for the SBAC. Sophomores are taking the Casey.
So I
That's
So you're
February
good, yeah.
the 2nd
I know.
or something.
Do you know if it's the same for the Casey, since you know so much? Like, I really
I
don't
know nothing about Casey.
Okay. These are the results from the assessment that we took, so that you have them. Oops, I'm sorry. And then could you just briefly just tell people about the results of the assessment that you got yesterday that you showed me? And I'll show you how to read that. Remember the...
Oh, the obesity.
Yeah, health and fitness.
Shreve showed me how to access the information about how our freshmen did last year on their fitness tests, and what was it? 40% are at risk in their body composition. 29% are
That's-
need improvement, and then what's that leave? 30%. 30% are at
normal level.
at HFZ, Healthy Fitness Zone. And that was last
Oh my
year's
God.
freshman.
That's bad.
And then the aerobic capacity was almost as bad
Oh my
for
God.
for the freshmen last year.
Wow.
So Shreve showed me how to get the results from any school in any district and any counties in the state of California.
All right, so I don't want to digress too much, but to me that screams integrated project nutrition pointed at freshmen to inform the freshmen. They're going to inform themselves as they inform the freshmen and see kind of the stock that they came from and hopefully do some own corrective action. But that to me is a no-brainer. Somehow you got to integrate freshmen into this process and get them to understand the elements of what it takes to be healthier and to do better on this assessment.
Are
Well,
you
I don't
talking
even
about
know
the
what
10th
assessment is.
graders?
You know, I
Because
taught-
they're current 10th graders.
Yeah, though, yeah, you're right. So those results are the 10th grade.
This year's
The
10th,
current
yeah.
10th
Yeah.
They were
graders.
2012, 2013 results.
Wow.
So they're this year's sophomores.
Well, but, you know, I taught at a grammar school, right, PE. And the fitness level, probably 5% of the kids were, in terms of being at the zone they need to be in.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are, I mean, so it's not really being taught very much
Mm-hmm.
below us.
Well, wait a second now. In order to verify that, we need data, which means
Yeah,
can we
but
take
the
it back
thing-
about 4 years
If you
and
go-
do freshmen for the past 4 years and see, is there a trend or are they dropping?
I think you can even look at this year's 9th graders, and you can look at their results from 5th grade
Right.
on this.
No, that's not what I mean.
Okay.
So I'm talking about as we get rising 9th graders.
I-
What are their scores?
Right.
That's what I'm more interested in. I don't want to trace it back to how they've been in the past.
Right, but I'm not sure all the options on the website, but it would seem like you could do some trade.